This is the 17th season of Bass Talk Live with your hosts, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrat. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Bass Cat Boats, APCO, Duck & Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, Exo Lures, Yamagatsu, The Bass Tank, and Denali Rods. BTL coming at you. Good Tuesday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where Matt and I are going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, it was pretty boring last night.
I'm assuming you're talking about the national championship game.
Did anybody really care outside of the state of Alabama or Ohio?
Yeah, I think a lot of people watched it. I think
For how long?
It was cool to get to see a national championship game take place in a year that we didn't know if we would even get through the season in college football.
I gotta say,
as a Sooner fan, I watched the second half of it. I was on a live stream with Tin Horse Monty, I think, two couple guys and Backyard Bassin out of Illinois. Yeah. And so that lasted until the first half, and then it was 35-17, and then it was pretty much over.
It was
pretty much over by then.
Yeah. Anyway, I am a huge Kirk Herbstreit fan.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's one of the probably top 5 guys of all time that have done college football color. He was uninspired last night. He was rather beige.
Well, didn't he go to OSU?
Yeah, but he is really, really good at never putting forth the fact that he is an alum from
not according to Gerald Swindle. He was throwing some major shade on him on his Instagram. Just called Herbstreit out.
Yeah, I don't think he showed anything like that. I just think they were very bored with what was taking place.
There was no one who could compete with Alabama this year.
No, not even close.
I made the comment to one of my buddies. I said, "God, I'm glad OU didn't make it."
That would have been potentially just as ugly. But how about the celebrations afterwards? That was fairly interesting.
Nick Saban did not look happy being carried out to the middle of the field. That was all I was thinking of.
Oh, jeez.
You okay over there?
No, I dropped my notes.
Oh, we got notes for today's show?
Well, I always do. I have little play cards.
I'm dropping a hint already if you're watching on YouTube as to what's going on today.
All right, real quick. We've had to, call an audible the last couple of days?
We're 0 for 2 this week.
Here's what happened today.
We're not 0 for 2. The title is 0 for 2.
Yeah, but yesterday's show was really good. I got a lot of feedback. We paid tribute to Mark Pack. We had to move Kevin Van Dam because of the snowstorm in Texas.
I don't know. I saw some photos. I think he still went fishing, Mark.
No, he did. He did.
Okay.
I mean, that was the whole plan.
I got you.
Yeah, it was just logistics would not allow us to do what we wanted to do. So
Or today,
yeah. So I get a text from Trevor McKinney at 5 o'clock this morning that says, "Hey, man, can we reschedule? We can still try and do it, but where I'm at, I've only got 2 bars." And guess what he was doing?
Well, I know what he was doing, so I don't have to guess.
He was duck hunting. He's a duck guide. I had no idea. So he had a trip that he totally forgot about. And he was like, "Look, man, I could try and pull this off." And what do we have? Ott Defo from the Duck Blind.
Right.
Last time. But
Ott also wasn't guiding anyone. He was just out messing around with his buddies.
Right. So we are going to reschedule Trevor McKinney for later in the month.
But that being said, we still have an in-studio guest.
And who is that, Matthew?
That would be John Soukup from the Bass Tank, who I don't think has caught less than 25 pounds the last 15 times he has gone out bass fishing. He also came bearing gifts, which during our next Sunline Hotline show,
we're going to give them away.
We'll have to give these away. So there's the snazzy bass tank hat in the always popular Richardson 112 snapback. You know, that's kind of a Texas, Oklahoma thing, the 112. Like, you get to other parts of the country and it's not as big as it is around here, but you get it anywhere, kind of the vibe around here. Everyone wears this hat. I've talked about it.
You're Illinois?
No, not so big in Illinois.
Really?
It's kind of this a regional thing. But anyway, dude, the Soukup got the BTL. What color green would you call that? It's our BTL like green that's been the
hot
BTL.
Lime. This is what somebody called it. Hot lime. Yeah.
It sounds like a trendy drink at a downtown club. Oh, 2 hot limes.
Hot lime.
But it's got BTL at either side on the Richardson 112 with the Bass Tank logo. So we've got some of those, and then we also have a number of what's on the side of those over there, Mark?
What's that?
Didn't you have a stack of hats over there too?
Yeah, some. I don't know what I did with them. Where'd I put them at?
They got Lowrance on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next time we have a show, a call-in show, which we'll have probably the next month, wouldn't you say?
Probably next week.
Next week.
Or the week after.
Richardson 112.
There you have it.
Tank co-branded.
Yeah. Hey, once again, I have to say this. I know we gave away some Sunline bags, and I'm still working on getting with my contact on that to get those shipped out. So the plan is this week's going to happen for all those people that won Sunline bags.
Sounds good.
All right, this week. The other thing is we got to mention John. John is in studio, and I'm just going to kind of set this up, and then we're going to go into something that blew my mind, Matthew.
It's hard to do. So
all right,
I'm intrigued as to what
I'm going to ask
involve.
I'm going to ask you to think very, very hard if there is a situation in the bass fishing world that is very similar. Okay. That's all I'm going to ask you to do on this subject that I'm going to bring up.
Is this a high school basketball?
No. All right. But I do want to say this. When we get John, after we take a break on the show, he is going to talk a little bit, actually a lot, about the new active target system that Lowrance has. Now, being the owner of the Bass Tank, he does a lot of stuff with all brands. But this is something new. This is something that a lot of people out there just may not be familiar with. And this is the example that I'm going to use, Matthew. It's kind of like if you've been a Chevy guy your entire life. Your dad was a Chevy guy. Your grandfather was a Chevy guy. And even when new stuff started to come out, you still knew and thought in your mind that Chevy was the only vehicle out there based upon what the services and what the features and everything that's involved in getting a Chevy truck.
Chevy. For no other reason than...
Yeah. Then all of a sudden, here comes Ford. Now, Ford is coming out with something that's pretty doggone cool, but you've been a Chevy guy all your life.
Okay.
And you don't really know a whole lot about the Ford stuff, so what you're going to do is you're going to get an opportunity to find out about the Ford stuff today. Because let's face it, folks, what do you refer to it as? Forward viewing sonar?
Forward viewing sonar. It's the same thing as chatterbait versus bladed jig.
All right.
When there's a chatterbait on the market, it's a chatterbait. Now you have more than one option. Now it's a bladed jig.
You went the fishing route. I went the non-fishing route. All right.
Fair comparison?
Sure, why not?
John's shaking his head, yeah.
Why not? All right. So what John is going to do, because he is familiar, very familiar with everything, he is going to introduce to you the factual information about what active target is all about.
He's had Panoptics, Live Scope, Live Sight, active target, and 360, even messed around with 360, and 360.
Not too many people can say that.
And spent a lot of time in the boat with all of them. He's also had all 3 trolling motors.
Yeah. So I thought, let's get him on the show. He caught a massive fish using active target. So let's get him on. Let's have him talk a little bit about the Ford rather than the Chevy that's been around for a while. Makes sense, Matthew?
Yeah.
All right.
Or the Thunder Cricket as opposed to the Jackhammer. I like that comparison better.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, let me get this set up real quick. There was a press release that came out yesterday, not in the fishing world. Hang on. I've got to...
There were a bunch of press releases that came out yesterday. There's a bunch of schedules that came out.
You want to talk about that real quick while I get this set up?
Bass Nation schedule came out, which we kind of knew. Like I'd actually gotten a heads up from a BTL listener who like opened up the local paper several months ago, and it's like Junction City, Kansas, like the Junction City Junction. That's hard to say. The Junction City, Kansas, like Gazette. That they were hosting the Bass Nation on Milford Lake for the regional, one of the 5 regionals for all the guys in the state teams. But that came out. This is how you get to the national championship. So it's Havasu, Lake Hartwell, Lake Erie, and the upper Mississippi. But the central region, Mark, I will be learning a brand new lake, kind of in the backyard, not that far away. Milford Lake in Junction City, Kansas. Now, I know the college kids have fished there.
Yeah.
All I can say is it's got to be better than Louisville. But I don't know if it's like a powerhouse fishery.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's a 20 pounds a day to win. I think they might have smallmouth. So I'm kind of excited about that because I am on the state team. So April 21st through 23rd, I'll be in Kansas. Then the college series schedule is already out, and we hadn't talked about it, but it's Norman, Smith, Cumberland, and Lay. And then I think the high school schedule is out as well, where you can just knock out everything because then you have the opens and all that. And it is... Well, they don't have it in a list there. I'm going to have to read through the article. So do you have your
No,
your
it's pulled
ready?
up. As you can see on the screen.
Here it is.
Right.
Harris Chain, Cumberland, and Lay.
And there you have it. All right, man. I want you to think and see if there is a comparison to fishing.
More comparisons.
Right.
Okay.
On what was announced yesterday. I'm sure you're familiar with Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart Racing.
Yeah.
All right. His company, fairly large. They came out with a statement yesterday of which the Tony Stewart brand and his company is going to back and fully sponsor Sean Rash.
He's a big-time bowler.
He's one of the top 5 bowlers in the world.
You can see on the screen there, he is so big that he has his own fan page, as you have pulled up the Sean Rash fan page on Facebook.
Yeah. So, in that first paragraph there, PBA Tour standout Sean Rash announced today that he will be backed by 3-time Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series champion Tony Stewart in 2021 as the 16-time titleist will carry the Smoke brand as he embarks in the current season, in the 2021 season.
So you're just going to have like a sublimated jersey with Tony Stewart's smiling face on it?
No.
What's the Smoke brand? Is that Tony Stewart's
That's his company. Yeah, that's his company. So what I ask you, Matt, I mean, this is a professional athlete that has been enormously successful, that's stepping up to the plate. Now, granted, it's not Elite Series or BPT sponsorship money because of the expenses that are in the bass fishing world, but it's a nice little check that Tony's got a right to back Sean Rash.
Right.
Can you recall a professional athlete or a professional athlete's company fully backing a professional angler?
Fully backing.
Yeah, because that's what Tony Stewart's company is doing.
Now, the only thing that comes to mind would be Lee Livesey, who's an Elite Series pro, and one of his big sponsors is Whiskey Myers, which is a group of guys in a band, which would somewhat be similar, would it not?
Well, they're not professional athletes.
They're professional musicians. You got to put the professional musicians and professional athletes on the same pedestal,
Are
because
you
all the
kidding
professional
me?
athletes want to be professional fish or professional musicians, and all the musicians want to be athletes. Parallel to get to that same level. Whiskey Myers, big league, kind of red dirt country style. Used to listen to him all the time. Now,
yeah, but you don't know if they are fully backing him. 100%.
I don't know if they're fully back. I know they went to the Bassmaster Classic to cheer him on. They're morally and mentally supporting him. I don't know about the financials.
The thing that really intrigued me is that some people may not call NASCAR
right, but so is he getting sponsored
athletes
by Tony Stewart? Or is he getting sponsored by Smoke? That is Tony Stewart's brand.
It's Tony Stewart's company.
Okay, well that's different. That's not an individual.
That's his company.
Yeah,
I mean,
but every single company, there's a lot of companies that are owned by an individual, and it doesn't say,
okay, then give me
I'm sponsored by Jim. You're sponsored by that company.
Give me an example. I'm trying to find out if there's anything that is similar to that in the bass fishing world. I could not think of anything like that. That's why I'm asking you.
Any tackle company that's owned by an individual.
Dude, that's nowhere even near the comparison I'm trying to make.
How is that?
This is a big name dude.
Okay.
All right. That was enormously successful.
You're
in
talking
NASCAR.
About like a celebrity that has a brand.
An athlete.
An athlete that has a brand that backs a fisherman.
A professional angler.
A professional angler.
Not a fisherman.
They're called fishermen.
They're professional anglers.
Okay.
All right.
That fish derbies. I'm a fisherman.
No, you're not. You're an angler.
I'm a derby fisherman, Mark.
You're an angler.
I'm a competitive angler, derby fisherman.
Dude, anyway, I mean, this is a sponsorship that is probably in the, I'd say, $40,000 to $60,000.
Yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head.
And this whole thing was based upon a relationship that Sean Rash and Tony Stewart kind of kindled when there was a co-branding of NASCAR and bowling. Remember they had the Go Bowling car in NASCAR? Do you remember that?
No.
You don't remember that?
I do not.
Yeah, it was a big deal. In fact, they had a promo video of Jason Belmonte actually making a strike on, I think it was Daytona, on the actual raceway, going 190 miles an hour.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
John Bird III, remember him? He was our victor during the, what did you call it?
Apex Games.
I was going to say the Invictus Games. By what point? He asked, is Paul George back Wheeler? I think they're just buddies, aren't they?
I think they're just friends. Maybe.
I'm getting a lot of support that every company is owned by someone and that Tony Stewart is not personally backing them. Like, I always get a joke. My buddy Greg's like, what would it cost to sponsor you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, what if I just wanted my face all over your boat? Like, just the patch of just my smiling face on your front deck. And
would you sell out, man?
If you're serious about this, there is a number where we could have the Greg Smith rap.
Yeah.
I think he's getting sponsored by Smoke, which is owned by Tony Stewart.
Okay, I get that, but still, the relationship and the friendship that was started based upon this event that took place, this deal doesn't happen if that friendship is not there. If that relationship that was built based upon Tony liking the game of bowling.
I agree. I 100% agree.
So
it's the same way that like the basketball guys back the bowling. They want to have something to. I mean, it's like cool. Hey,
yeah,
this is my guy.
So who's going to be the first athlete out there? The Paul George one is really good, but I think they're just friends. I know him and Wheeler have
the first athlete to back
a professional
angler.
Yeah,
with their brand. So it would be like LaMelo Ball having a big baller brand rap on tour.
Yeah, that company's out of business, but
for now, he said he's going to bring it back.
Yeah,
he said it'll never die. I'm just saying hypothetically.
But how cool is that? I think when I read that, I was like, man, that is cool. Will that ever happen in professional fishing? What do you think?
I'm not opposed to it. I think it might.
Well,
I mean,
I don't
depends on the relation.
Who's going to be opposed to it?
I'm just saying it would depend on their relationship, on how good of friends you are. I mean, I could see it happening where the dude's like, man, you take me and my buddies fishing. You're living in a freaking trailer park eating beanie weenies. I just signed a $50 million deal. I think it'd be cool to have a badass wrap with my clothing company brand. I'll sponsor you and wrap it and stuff, and you take my buddies during the off season.
Yeah. You know, Sean Rash, what kind of racer was Tony Stewart? Do you remember?
He was cutthroat, win at all costs, aggressive, rubbing his racing.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the guy who fished the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night jackpots, multiple different types of tracks and automobiles. I mean, he's big into the dirt track stuff. His life is racing.
Sean Rash, same way.
With bowling.
Yeah. And I know you're not familiar, but his style, his intensity, during television mats. I mean, there's several YouTube videos that are out there about him just being a jerk.
Tony
flat
Stewart?
out. No.
Sean Rash.
Yeah. Flat out being a jerk, but very competitive.
You ever played against him?
No.
You ever rolled against him?
No.
You've watched him roll it?
Yeah. Yeah. Several times. Nice guy off the lanes. You get him on the lanes, dude, he wants to kill you.
He gels his hair, right?
Oh, no. I don't know, man. Why would I know
I'm
that?
just making sure that I'm thinking of the same guy.
No, I don't think you are.
Yeah. No, I am.
Gels his hair.
It looks like there's some product. I mean, not much.
I didn't even know that was still a thing. Wasn't that a 90s or a 2000s thing?
It's fairly spiky. I don't think that's I don't think it's natural spike.
Who gels their hair on tour? Since you noticed this stuff.
I was just making sure I was thinking of the same
Come on,
guy.
you're the hair dude. Who gels their hair on tour?
Oh, I mean, Chad Pipkins is literally sponsored by like a hair care product company.
I know that, but anybody else out there that gels their hair?
Justin Lucas.
No.
Yeah, like before he comes in, he like conditions it, and then he brushes his teeth, puts on some face moisturizer, and then hits the weigh-in stage.
This is gone.
There's numerous guys who brush their
too
teeth
far.
before they weigh in.
Well, I believe that.
They'll stop and pull a toothpaste on, brush their teeth.
You going down that route?
No.
No.
Here's
Not
a
going
picture
down that
of
route.
Sean Rash sitting in like a king's chair.
Yeah, that was
So how
King
is
of the
this?
Lanes.
Here's my question. I thought you said they couldn't be sponsored by something that's not like
No, sure they can.
That's not like a approved sponsor.
Do you think the
company.
PBA is going to deny that? I don't think so. I'm sure it's already been approved by the PBA. You know, we'll do.
I don't know. That might be natural spike. Because it's kind of a length where it.
I didn't know you were the hair expert.
No, that's definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, we will do a segment here in the future.
But that's for a TV show.
You've
so
heard
I
me
can
talk about
understand
this. The guys' jerseys on tour, they're very expensive to get stuff on there.
that. Yep.
They actually have guidelines that you have to accept X amount of dollars, not less than X amount of dollars for certain logo position.
Can you not put logos on the balls?
No.
Why not?
Well, bowling ball companies probably wouldn't allow that. And since they're writing a check for you to use their equipment, they're probably not going to allow that.
They ain't paying him as much as Tony Stewart is.
Oh, geez.
If Tony Stewart wanted
Do
to
you
have
get the point
smoke
I was
on the
trying to
bowling ball-
make?
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll ever happen for an angler?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You think it is happening? We just don't know about
I
it?
think now with the exposure that the game's going to have.
Who are the Brew City Ballers?
That's the PBA league they have at the end of the season.
Their logo is literally a 6-pack of beer.
Well,
That is fantastic.
that's kind of bowling there, my friend. Anyway. All right, we're going to take a break, come back with our in-studio
You want
guest.
a WWE belt?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm learning all sorts of stuff.
Yes, you are. Anyway. Smoke on the lanes. That's what we got now.
Very cool.
All right. Taking a break. Coming back with John. Everybody stay tuned.
Active target by Lowrance.
Exceeded any and all expectations I had.
Opened up my eyes and things that never knew happened.
I'm not sure what kind of food. I'll tell you included in the software, but it's incredible.
He was messing around copy view. All of a sudden, you come right down in there. You see the fish coming. It was like that.
It's just complete different universe that we're taking this fishing to. There's no bass safe out there.
Active target by Lowrance. Game on.
Basscat's legendary 20-foot platform is angler-approved accessories for 2021. Puma FTD proven hull used by many of the top names in bass fishing today, backed by a transferable lifetime warranty. The Puma FTD boasts a full team that concept enhances efficiency for you and your tournament partners. Turnkey tournament winning performance. The Puma FTD SP from Basscat.
Guys, what makes our lures beat the competition?
I mean, you have to admit, we nailed it with my mixed and rock crawlers.
Man, we've all money on my float.
My sucks, fish in my boat. One thing's for sure, we all count on our lures to beat the competition.
Designing cutting-edge baits with some of America's top anglers. Spro Lures beat the competition. To see the entire lineup, visit a retailer near you or Spro.com.
While I travel on the Bassmaster Elite Series, I simply can't let the weather be the reason I don't win $100,000. That's why I use Coke clothing to keep me warm, dry, and protected from whatever Mother Nature wants to throw at me. My season depends on it. My career depends on it. ATCO. Any fish, any water.
Hey everyone, Brandon Polnick here. People always be asking me what I got tied on. And I'm like, X-Zone Lures. And they're like, Brandon, why you got X-Zone Lures tied on? And I'm like, let me show you why.
The bite.
Get out of there. Get out of there. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's freaking big. Get in here. Oh, God. Giant. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. I think you get the point.
The Ned rig. What rod should I be using with the Ned rig? My favorite is the Denali Lithium multi-spin rod. It's our 7'4" length, great Ned rig rod. It's got a great sensitive tip on it. It's long enough where I can make long casts, which you're usually fishing clear water with a Ned rig, and it's got enough backbone to get those fish in. So check it out, Denali Lithium Series 7'4" multi-spin.
Companies get bigger and bigger and talk about their fancy labs where they study fish behavior, but then they all go golfing on the weekend. We don't have a large laboratory to test baits. Why, you ask? We don't need a big laboratory because our pros fish, our employees fish, our salespeople fish, our suppliers fish, our mold builders fish, our owners fish, and our kids fish. This is our laboratory. Our R&D comes from time on the water, learning how to make fish bite. All that time on the water brings us thousands of hours of testing new products and improving current ones for all species.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get,
it's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
Pro-inspired, pro-designed. Tested and proven by legends on the water. Dominating the tournament trail for over 50 years. Everything you need, one legendary brand. Strike King.
Hey guys, Major League Fishing Pro, Jacob Wheeler here with my new Signature Series line of rods with Duck It Fishing. We have my 7.2 cranking rod right here. Crankbaits can be very fickle, and having the right, having a lot of tip can be too much, and having not enough tip can, lose a lot of fish. So you really got to be careful. If there's one or two techniques that I'm really adamant about having the perfect action is a crankbait, especially like the square bill, a DT6, those medium running crankbaits in the springtime when those fish's mouth are pretty tough. That's when I'm really on top of having my actions just perfect.
All right, we are back on a Tuesday, and it is time to go to our in-studio guest, the man behind the Bass Tank, John. Thanks for taking time out to come down to OKC. Hey, real quick, I apologize. There's one little button on here on the software that if I don't press it, we get that echo, so I hopefully won't happen again.
And the other thing you don't realize is Jeffrey's jams hardcore rock music in his earbuds during the break, and then refuses to look across.
I'm
the
trying
computer
to get
screen.
the commercials in the right
So I have
spots
to
and all
lean
that.
over, and then if I have to tap him or get his attention, then he like rips the headset off. He's like, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "Apparently there's some echo, Mark."
Yeah, there was echo.
You cannot hear him because his headsets are so loud. It's basically completely sound canceling. So unless you make direct eye contact with him, whatever's happening continues to happen.
Anyway, so
Hey,
hopefully
what's up, John?
that situation will not occur. John, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. We're talking fishing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking whatever we want to talk about. That
day.
literally says that in the opening of the show. That's Jeffrey's tagline.
That is the tagline.
How long has that been the tag? How did you come up with that tagline, Mark?
I just
because I mean
made it
you've been
up.
saying it for. Have you always? I can't even remember you not saying it, but there had to be a time where you're like, I need a tagline.
It came from the XM show.
So we're talking 15 years ago.
Yeah, when Judasy, even longer than that. When Judasy and I were back then for the XM show, we had to do a pre-production meeting because the producer was a stickler, everything by the book and all that.
Is this the guy who wore the leather bomber?
No.
That's a different producer?
Different guy.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this was the guy that was in Washington, D.C. at the time that produced the show. Anyway, me and Judasy were sitting there, and I asked him, I go, what are we going to talk about today? And he goes, we'll talk whatever we want to talk about. I was like, okay, I got that. So we could talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. And that's kind of how it came down. Gary Judasy. Thanks to Gary Judasy right there.
What is your bass?
It's also Mark's personality, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about.
What is the Bass Tanks? Do you guys have a catchphrase? Like the Bass Tank, we install everything. What's your catchphrase?
We do catching, not fishing.
Oh, that is.
Catching, not fishing.
It's about catching, not just fishing.
I like that.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I also follow a guy on Instagram, and his tag is it's about fishing, not catching.
Yeah.
Literally.
When is it not about catching?
Well, he's all about
the experience.
Yes.
One with nature. Anyway.
It's all one with nature till you got $4,000 in on it. It's 2 o'clock on a Friday. You're 1,000 miles from home with $150 in your bank account.
Yeah.
You could care less about the fishing. You care about the catching right then.
Yeah, that's not good. All right, John. We've been talking about it for a few weeks now. And Lowrance launched their latest product, Active Target. And you've actually had an opportunity. And I kind of set it up. You do everything. It's not just one brand. You install and sell and do everything for every brand. But recently, you actually had an opportunity to get on the water and actually test and use and have some success using Active Target.
Yeah, 100%. We get asked all the time, when new technology has not arrived and everybody's anticipating it and they want it to arrive. And, we have really good friends at Lowrance, so we also answer the questions that we get from our customers honestly. And so the hype is, the question is, are they there? Is the technology real? Can I trust it? And firsthand experience, I can say the wait is over for the Lowrance guys. This forward-facing sonar, it's taking over. It's going to dominate, and the Active Target's the real deal.
So explain how. So like I said, I've known John for a long time. I remember when the Ghost came out and Live View came out. Like you ripped everything you had on your boat off and you put the new trolling motor on, and then you have like a boats with the Bass Tank that you own. So as soon as everything new comes out, you put that on that, and then you and your guys go out and you test it all, regardless of what it is and all the different circumstances. So just kind of, I'm curious, how do you test it, and how do you go between them? Like, what's the process in really learning it? Because I mean, anybody can like put it on, but explain how you put it through its paces, I guess, so to speak.
You've got to be willing to make yourself uncomfortable. And what I mean by that is we have our tools that we get real comfortable with, and it becomes a part of our system as we fish. And changing from, one phone system to another phone system, whether you have an Apple or Android, you can get real uncomfortable real quick. And that's what we do, is we put ourselves in those uncomfortable situations where we just dive right in, rip everything off the boat that we're using, and go all in with a new technology, and force ourselves to put, we will immediately go in our tournament with new stuff, because we want to put ourselves under that crunch time, under those scenarios that, you need to be able to utilize the technology and figure out how it works, in that crunch, not when you have just all the time in the world. And so that's what we've been doing the last couple of years. That way we can communicate with our customers when they call and they have a certain situation. We have a response, because all technology, across the different brands, they have, they all have their benefits and their strengths and their weaknesses, if you will. And so, we want to be able to help somebody when they call and they have a certain situation. We can say, hey, we've been there. Listen, this is the strength in this situation, and be prepared. Don't try to make it do this, because this is its weakness. Fortunately for me, I got an opportunity to go out with Lowrance in the Lowrance boat, so it was already rigged and ready to go, and I didn't have to have, all that big rush. It was just a fun day on the water to experiment. We went to 3 different lakes, actually, and by the end of the day, I got comfortable with it, saw what its strengths, what its weaknesses were, what its capacity was, and we ended up hammering some big fish, 100% because of the technology, 100% because of the active target.
All right, here I've got some video, and we're gonna play this video, and you can kind of describe.
You got to play it though. That's the caveat.
Just let me know. Let me know when you want it.
Well, I can do a little intro to what's going on here.
Okay.
So this is actually Lake 3. Lake 1 that we went to a lake I'd never been to. Lucas from Lowrance had never been to it either, and we graphed around and used the side imaging, down imaging, found some fish that were located on the bottom, about 30 foot of water, and then we got out, got the active target, and we caught a bunch of 2-pounders. And it was pretty neat to think that we got on a lake we'd never been before, and within the first cast, I'm actually getting bit already. But they just weren't real giants. So then we jumped that lake and went to another lake, which was a shallow mud hole. And in the water, it was really cold that day. Just didn't feel like we were going to be able to do much out of it. So we jumped to this third lake. And in this situation, we're out over 70, 80 foot of water, maybe 60. And we have located a winter school of bass that are on mega bait. They're on gigantic gizzards about this big. I caught a couple, actually.
So you're on a lake. Is it in Oklahoma?
It is not in Oklahoma.
Okay, that's all I'll ask then, because I was saying you're on a lake in Oklahoma that's 70 foot deep with giant gizzard shad.
Yeah,
I was curious, but anyway. So what you're seeing, if you're listening to this on iTunes, all right now is a photo. It's just the front of the bass boat. It's got the Lowrance Ghost up front. It looks like a HDS Live 12 screen there with the active target on it. And then John, we got to walk people through this.
So right there, I think I've already caught a fish in that picture, and all I was doing is scanning around real quick and showing people the ball of shad. There was no fish actually in this image. I tried to see him real quick, but the wind had blown us back. That's a ball of shad right there at 40 foot ranged out. And so what we're doing is we're chasing around looking for the shad, and then within the shad we're sweeping the trolling motor and looking to see if there's a wolf pack of bass eating on that shad. And when we find, if you notice, I got my range depth only set at like 30 foot deep. The reason is because I don't care about any of those fish that are down below. If matter of fact, the 20 and 30 footers were difficult to catch. So I'm looking for the group of fish that have come up, that are about 10 foot below the surface, and that are starting to work on that ball of shad. And when I see that, what we call the dominoes, and here I've hooked up with a good fish.
I
chase this thing down, make a long cast, make a 100-foot cast. We were ranged out to about 100, and the sun was starting to go down a little bit, and they were starting to feed up on that shad, and hook into a good one.
I feel like I know where you are.
It's pretty
possible that I might know where you are.
Yeah.
Okay. He's fighting this fish. His rod is absolutely bowed over. Now would be a great time to plug our newest rod sponsor on the BTL show.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite swim bait rods. So that in the video, I mean the audio, I'm calling it an 8. We had 30 pounds in the boat already. I'd lost a 7 or 8 already at the boat, and then I caught that. I'm thinking it's an 8-pounder. And so
that thing's got bug eyes. That's a pot-belly, bug-eyed winter fish. That is one of the prettiest. Yeah, one of the prettiest fish I've seen. I mean, dark green for a winter fish. There's no grass in that lake either, is there?
No, there's no grass.
I wonder why it was. Why do you think it was that dark?
I think they're Floridas.
They are. Oh, John's making a very excited face. Very excited face looking at the scale. He shows it. It is a 947.
947.
Wow.
Yeah. Almost broke the double-digit mark for the first day out with the active target. And, of course,
Wait, now I don't know where you are.
That is a good one.
What people don't know is I'm actually a billionaire, and I own thousands and thousands of acres of secret ponds.
Yeah. You just stock them all up in there.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. We're on public water. We're just fishing fish that people aren't. There's actually 2 boats there within 2 casts of me, and they're fishing this standard structure, the standard bank, and they're catching some fish, but that's just not where the majority of the population are at right now. And we're able to target fish that just typically aren't getting casted at.
Wow. All right, man. As far as operational, the unit that Lowrance has now, how easy is it to use? How easy is it to get dialed in? I mean, what's your thoughts on the whole process, John?
So here's my thoughts. I'll take a step back. For me, in years past, Lowrance's seem like they've always had a little bit more complicated systems of operation. You could go more in depth. I think they've studied what's out there, and they've come up with 2 solutions. It's very simple is the quick answer. I mean, really you have a contrast that you can tune the contrast up or down. The processors itself make the screen very, very clear. Lucas was explicit to me that they studied groups that said their customers wanted a clearer screen. And so they definitely have that clearer screen. I pressed it to its limit. I turned it all the way up to where it was just trash all over the screen, because it's kind of how I like to see things, just everything that I can possibly see. But then they have a noise reject that we didn't have to turn it on at all, so I didn't have to mess with noise reject. But those were just, honestly, those are the only 2 features that were needed to adjust. Other than that, you have your appearances that you can play with and change your your color schemes, if you will.
One of the things that I thought was cool about it that is, if I saw in that video, there's like a little cone at the top in the top right corner that actually shows which way it's pointing.
Yeah, it'll kind of an orientation indicator of where you're pointing. So the live scope active target is actually an 18-degree cone. And there's a misconception, I believe, amongst people that outside judgers of the technology saying they want a wider cone, they want a wider cone, they want a wider cone. Well, it's kind of like the difference between binoculars and an actual scope if you're hunting. You don't want a wide cone on your rifle when you're taking a shot. Now, you may take your binoculars and scan around, and then you want your scope to be able to target very directly. You want to be able to hit that fish as close to the head as possible. And the wider the cone, the further out you're looking. See right there, I'm ranged out 100 feet. I'm able to, everywhere I'm looking, I'm scanning 100 feet out. When I see that fish, I have that orientation indicator up there. I want to be able to hit that fish. I don't want to hit 20 feet from it, 30 feet from it. So that helps us, tune in and become a lot more efficient with our casts.
Is that what you were talking about, Matt?
Yeah, up in the right hand corner there. Because I know that's a lot of people. Because it's always like, oh, you have to. Look where your trolling motor's pointed, because that's what you're seeing. So like everyone just wants to cast in front of the boat, and it's like, dude, your trolling motor's pointed behind the boat, so what you see is behind the boat, not in front. So that's like a cool little indicator up there.
The solution for everything when it comes to new technology, and especially the forward shooting sonar, is time on the water, time on the water, time on the water. No one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear, hey, you got to practice more, right, Mark? Like, how do you get better at bowling?
Yeah.
No one wants to hear, go practice.
Buy this bowling ball.
Yeah.
Well, I liken it a lot. I don't need the indicators because I've used it so much. I know by my foot angle on the troll. I always keep my foot on the trolling motor.
You call it micro adjusting.
Yeah, I'm featherfished. I know by what angle my foot is where that trolling motor's looking. It's the same thing if you got in a car and you started steering with the steering wheel. You don't need an indicator telling you that you're turned left or right. You already know instinctually. You've done it so many times. So that's where you need to get. If you really want to get good with the technology, you need to get where your body and your mind already knows where you're at.
All right, John, a couple of quick questions from the instant feedback. One, several people want to know, should you have dedicated batteries for these units?
I think it's always a good option to have dedicated batteries for your units.
All right.
Do you absolutely need it? No, you don't. Now, when you start adding multiple units, bigger sizes, any kind of sonar that has a black box, like the Akatar has its own black box, it's going to come in. It's going to pull. It's going to have more amp draw. It's going to get into your batteries. If you're going to start running it off your starter battery and you got your bilge pumps running, and it's a hot summer day, remember those summer days, they're longer, and as they're hotter, it takes more for those units to cool themselves. So you got more power being drawn down. So you put yourself in a jeopardizing situation that you might not have a full day on the water.
You run lithiums with it?
I run lithiums on mine.
I mean, that takes a lot of the battery issues out of it, doesn't it? I mean, because that's like not really anything for a lithium.
It takes a lot. For me, it takes a lot of the stress of not knowing if I have enough juice.
Yeah. I mean, what the output for those units are is nothing for a lithium.
Oh, yeah.
No.
All
right.
But you still can run lead acids.
Yeah, you can run lead acids, AGMs, and
there's a robust discussion about lithium mining and fossil fuels going on the YouTube board, Mark. I had no idea that they mined it, so I actually just Googled lithium mining. So,
there you have it.
You know what? Did you know that they mined lithium?
I did not.
It involves drilling a hole and pumping brine to the surface. That brine is then left to evaporate for months, which creates a chemical concoction containing magnesium, potassium, borax, and salt, which is filtered and placed into another evaporation pool.
Oh, okay.
There's like pictures of lithium mines. Did you know this, John?
I knew a little bit about this.
Wow.
How
this is anything else that we want to talk about right here, John.
Lake brines and playa evaporates also contain lithium due to increased demand for use of lithium in batteries. More than 50% of lithium mined is now used in batteries.
Huh.
How the heck do people figure that out?
Who knows?
Like, man. I'm serious. You can spend 5 minutes and be like, the human race is incredibly unintelligent. And then the next 5 minutes be like, the human race is brilliant. Do you not agree with that?
Yeah. That would be the human race right there, Matthew. Another question. People want to know, how effective is this technology, John, in shallow water?
So it's effective. It's extremely effective. Now, you're going to utilize it different. I'll put it that way. I'm going to take a step back there and kind of describe forward facing sonar, and I'm going to give you 3 benefits to the technology and what you're going to use these tools for. When you're watching somebody that's advanced with the technology, you're going to see them putting an individual lure in front of an individual fish's face, and you're going to watch that fish come and bite that lure. That is one, and it's the most difficult of the 3 groups. But there's 2 other things that you're able to do with this immediately upon purchase when you first get on your boat and you just get out there. One, you're going to be able to see the environmental factors that are going on. And when I'm shallow, that is one thing that I'm doing all the time. What I mean by environmental factors, you're going to see the bait. You go in an area and there's bait everywhere. There's fish activity everywhere. You know, a lot of times you look into a brush pile, and if you're thinking I'm going to target that one fish on that log or in that brush pile in shallow water, it can happen. But if that's what you're really focused on, you're going to actually get frustrated and you're going to say this thing's not good for shallow water. Well, that's not true, because I can scan around and I can see movement real quick. I may not see that fish throughout the whole cast, but I'm going to know movement told me there's a fish in that log. Slow down, rework that log or that brush pile. And then the second of the three, I guess, the third category is just being able to hold off cover structure appropriately, boat positioning. You know, if you're in shallow water, I can think of, you know, a couple years ago, I did really well in an event, and I was fishing some spawning fish before everybody else thought there was even spawning fish that were going on, and you know, running the creeks, doing the shallow water creek thing, and we hit a cold front, and those fish pulled off the banks, and they settled in the middle. And when I say of a creek, you know, the deepest water was 4 to 5 feet, and I could take that forward shooting sonar, I could scan around in the creek, in this little backwater creek, and I could see where, you know, you had a deeper hole and it rose up, and I could see those fish had pulled off and they were sitting in that, and I could back off that cover and you know, fish brush piles and logs that, you know, typically you just run right over and not even know they were there. Yeah. So
all right, let's see here. You mentioned, wow, and I can't even read this. You mentioned a 18-degree cone at 100 feet. How wide in feet are you looking at?
You know, I haven't done the math, so we could probably do that pretty quick. But I will tell you, to translate it back in layman's terms, that there is a focal point when you're looking, just like as I'm looking at you, Mark, I can see you, but I can also see, you know, the things on the wall in my peripheral vision. Mm-hmm. And so the one thing that you got to learn to look at is, no matter whatever that distance is mathematically that you're seeing out there, you will have a focal point that when I see that fish, I'm going to take and I'm going to what I call feather sweep. I'm going to sweep to the left of that, I'm going to sweep to the right, and I'm going to get that brightest return. And I'm going to try to keep my boat always about just noon. I try to keep it between 11 to 1, always. So I'm going to boat position orientation stay that way, because if that fish moves, the farther it gets to my left or right, the harder it is to stay with it. And he can also get me position where he gets under the boat, or I can never cast him. So I feather sweep so I know which way he's going, and I get that high return. And then in the peripherals, if I cast, I might see my lure. I'm going to feather sweep again, and if my return's brighter to the right than it was on the fish to the left, then I know that I'm in the peripherals and I'm not on that fish. I might just immediately, even if it was a 90-foot cast, I might burn that thing back in again, reposition and cast until I'm able to see the high return on both sides. So although you're seeing a wider, you know, distance wide at a further distance, you can still be very accurate if you learn how to understand focal points versus like the peripherals that you're seeing.
The guys who are really good at it, and you know, be in the boat with John and stuff like that, and you'll be scanning, you hear them and do it a lot. You go, whoa, there's one. Where's that? What was that? And you'll see the trolling motor, it'll be sweeping one way, and then boom, they'll shoot back to it, and then you'll see it sweeps back and forth, and that's trying to get that highest return. And then as you start going to where you can be in a 10-mile-an-hour wind, going with the wind at 70 feet out, and you sweep past something, and you know, based on the grain and based on how it was positioned and the shape of it, that's something I need to go back and check. So then you mentally know where it is in your mind there, and you're looking at the screen, and then you go back and find it, and you actually go back and then get dialed in on it, and it takes a lot of skill.
I want to tell you something cool that we're able to do with this technology, and that's read the fish's behavior. So never would I have ever thought, and here's something that everybody kind of knows about, is when the fish were, you know, when the fish are surfacing, when they're schooling and surfacing, you know, it's been recorded a lot that a lot of the pros will sit out there and they won't make a cast until they see one surfacing, because they don't want to disrupt the school. They want to get right in front of it. They got to be there real quick. Well, what about when they're not blowing up? What about when they're just underwater chasing the bait? One thing that a lot of people don't realize is somebody will go with me and they're kind of green and I'll have to tell them, hey, quit casting. And they're like, well, I can see the fish. I'm like, whoa, stop. You're actually sometimes hindering yourself from getting a bite by making too many casts. And what I mean by that is, as the bait's up top and the fish get the fish get scattered, they're kind of looking for, they're going to gather back together and they're going to gang on these shad. Well, if you make a bad cast at the wrong time, too premature, you don't let them get up underneath that bait and start feeding and doing their thing, and you make a premature cast, fish will follow your bait, and they'll follow it all the way back to the boat, and one will start following, and another one's starting. Next thing you know, you took 100 fish school, and you pulled them all the way to your trolling motor, and guess what? Now they saw the boat. And now they're like disoriented. They don't just scare off, but they're not going to bite.
That's so key. At Table Rock, you would see, so when I was there 3 weeks ago, you would see, I couldn't get him to bite on day 2. Like, I mean, nothing. We didn't have anything. And you would see the shad dimple, and it's over 70 foot of water. He had a forward-facing sonar, and I had it out to 80 feet. And I'm like, dude, there are fish 40, 50 foot down below this bait. And they're not anywhere, but there's a little dimple the size of this table right here. And the fish were 30 feet below it. And they were dead nuts under that bait. And you could take that Demiki rig and pitch it out, and you see little ripples. Nothing's blowing up. Nothing's busting it. And you'd watch that thing freaking spiral down, and it would just stop 35 foot down. That's how we caught every single fish. And those fish were there waiting for something, loons, birds, a seagull, something to go on. And they would wait, and they're like, oh, there's a dead, dying shad right there. But you would catch one, maybe two, and there'd be 20 or 30 underneath it. I mean, it was every single time you saw the dimpled shad. But once you caught one or two and there'd be 20 or 30 fish, you'd have to go find them again because they just go, psh, and then there's one way over there, and then there's one over there, and then you see one right here, and then you could maybe catch one doing that. But it's amazing how they bust up when something goes through them.
Well, so if you were to come out with me on my deck right now, I'm going to have 5 or 6 different rods, 5 different techniques, and each one of those, depending on how the fish are positioned and behaving, I may make one cast, catch a good one, and then you don't see me pick up that rod for another 5-10 minutes because I'm immediately changing to another lure technique. And that's what this sonar is allowing us to do, is tune in, read the fish's behavior, and know this particular fish right here will not react to this bait. I'm going to have to pick up the Demiki rig. I'm going to have to pick up a different, or I'm going to have to pick up a spoon, or I'm going to have to pick up a swim bait, or I'm going to have to throw an A-rig, or just, there's different jerk baits. All the different suspended lures work in their particular situation, but now we can read the fish's behavior and immediately make a pretty highly educated decision of what to throw at them. And our catch to cast ratio is going through the roof.
All right, a number of people want to know, how effective is this technology in heavy vegetation?
Okay, so once again, back to the 3 things that you can do. Heavy vegetation, one of the things that everybody knows, the fish love the edges. They love the points. They love the edges. They love the thick, the thick areas. And you're able to take this sonar and identify precisely where those edges are, where those points are, where the thickest mat is. How about this? Where there's no grass all of a sudden. In other words, where a shell bed or something like that's hidden inside the grass, which could be a very specific spot the size of your boat deck. So once again, learning the cover, boat positioning, where to sit, there is no other sonar out there that can duplicate that right now. So there's that. Now the second thing is, whether that area in the grass has bait or not, whether it's got a bunch of bluegill sitting up on top of that grass. Is there, I'm going to skip a little bit and go from grass to talking lily pads. One thing that everybody knows that's good frog fishermen around lily pads is you're going around, driving around a lot of time, and you just listen for that, the bluegill, right? Mm-hmm. The brim. Well, same thing back to the grass is we can't listen to that. They're not up there sucking, but you can see that they're there and know that the food's there. Now, when the fish are buried in the grass, they're buried in the grass, you're not going to be able to see them. You can see them as you move your lure across, and maybe there's a lot of times during the day we get followers. We had no idea. That's what the big glide baits and the big swim bait craze was, for these pros that are just using these lures in practice to get followers. You're able to see those followers now. Even though you didn't get bit, you're able to say, oh, man, there they were. They came out, especially if it's practice day. They're in this part of the grass. I'm coming back here tournament day. Now, to the extreme, when they're on fire, when they're above at the top of the grass and they're chasing like crazy, you're going to 100% be able to see these fish.
J-Rod points this out, and I wanted to ask you this last time. So whether it's a Lowrance or the Garmin, or what type of noise, what type of transducer sound is being shot forward in the water column, and have you seen that affect the fishes? And obviously you have the 2D. If you've ever been underwater in the summer, or you've had your transducer on out of the water, you hear the tick, you can hear the click. There is a click in the forward facing, and does that transmit? I mean, if you're shooting 20 feet out, does it only transmit 20? If you're shooting 100, does it transmit 100? Like, how the heck does that work?
No, I think that they can, if they really want to, they can hear it and feel it from whatever distance you're going. I mean, they can hear things way better than we can. I have 100% seen it now into the crappie world. Earlier this last spring, I was on Darbone in Arkansas, and anybody that was there will say the same thing. You'd hit that fish with a sonar, it'd be 30 feet away, and if you tapped your trolling motor, that was the worst thing you could do. Boom, that fish was gone. You were not even going to get anywhere near that fish. So there are times where, yes, the sonar can affect the fish. I personally do feel like, though, the stuff at your console is worse. I've just seen where it seems like it makes them more aware. I don't know. I haven't studied the frequencies of noise that are coming out.
Do you see a potential in the future? I mean, dude, the Alabama rig, every fisher went through for the first 3 years, they freaking ate it. Now you're going to have everybody with this forward-facing technology, and I mean, these fish are going to realize, hey, when I feel that pressure, when I hear that, they're going to get. Do you see a deal where they could get conditioned to the forward-facing technology to where now it's, Jim, he doesn't. He turned off that forward-facing technology because there's 2 whole generations of fish that know when they start feeling that or hearing it or however it resonates with their lateral line and body, that bad things happen.
Yeah, I think that it potentially can happen. I can tell you that I've noticed when fish want to feed, there ain't nothing going to stop them. And so, but when they're any kind of negative or trying to set up, the slightest thing can bother them. I've seen even on good days where you get the boat within 50 foot of the fish and you're too close. So I think what's going to happen is guys getting very efficient at making long casts at these fish, because to your point, I think there will be certain circumstances where the answer is going to be yes. The overall, I think no, because I've seen situations where I'm out on the school and I'm fishing it, and I've been hammering them, and they just quit for an hour or so. And then here comes this guy, and I get frustrated. He comes idling by me. I'm like, man, he's cutting me off. Now I don't anymore. I'm like, come on in, bring him in. Mm-hmm. Something about I'll back up. I'll let that guy idle through, and then the bait fish get up in all that turbulence, and guess what? Here comes the feed, and the fish will start feeding.
I'm just saying. I mean, a pea gravel point in May in Duck Creek. Like, if I'm a bass, you're going to get conditioned to that sonar. Yeah. I mean, am I wrong?
I think the fish's nature to want to spawn during that time, that early time of year.
No, I'm talking post-spawn when they're sitting out there and everyone's hitting it with the Seg-Dag thing, and there's a Nichols coming up, and there's been 150 live scope and active target units.
There's going to be some truth to it, and then once again, I think that we're just going to be able to take the technology and apply new techniques, and there's going to be. It seems like there's 2 techniques that work when under these pressure situations where you either go super finesse or you go the complete opposite and just go really big. And I find myself, even right now, if you come in on the deck, I've got my small baits and I got my big baits, and I don't have much in the middle.
How big was that underspin you caught that 9-pounder on?
That was it was a big one.
How big was it?
It may have been a 1-ounce head. It was just the biggest one I had in the box.
A 1-ounce head.
It could have been
on a 6-inch body.
That was a 7-inch. Yeah.
Throwing that one a 7/8 rod.
It was the 7/8. Yeah. The covert 7/8, man. That thing is a mean dude.
And 20. Were you throwing heavy with line?
Yeah, it's 20. Yeah. If you had the audio on it, if you ever go listen to the audio on that video, I have my drag cranked down, and he just starts ripping drag on the side of the boat. You can hear him.
All right, one more question, then we'll get back to some feedback. I want to make sure I get this in because I think this is important. You got a lot of guys who they're Lowrancers for life. right? Mm-hmm. They've got carbons. They've got the lives. Mm-hmm. They got money. They can go between whatever. I don't know any of the Garmin names. 9-inch, 10-inch, 12-inch, 16-inch screens and the live scope transducer, or they can get this active target. Mm-hmm. Price-wise, what are you saving? How much more does it cost? What is it? What is it going to do for guys who have Lowrance and have the option to do it? What's the difference?
So I don't want
in a roundabout way, in a general way, because a lot of people say, "Well, I can't afford this." It's like what, $3,000 if you're $3,000, right? Rough ballpark if you're going to put a 9-inch screen and a live scope on your boat, because you have to get the RAM mount and installation and the unit and the transducer.
So here's the really cool thing: if you have got a carbon or newer, your carbon, your Elite FS, the TI2s, or your HDS Lives, with the carbon, Lowrance has built this technology where all you have to do is get an update, and the active target system is $1,500. You're good to go. So you could be sitting at home wanting this technology. You don't have to worry about spending $3,000 to $5,000. You can get the $1,500 and get it rolling. Now, if you don't have a unit or you want a dedicated unit, then yeah, you're going to look at around a minimum purchase of around $3,000.
So if you have Lowrance, it's like, what, 7 trips to the plasma? The plasma?
What?
Giving plasma and blood.
Well, here's the deal, man. I think about those commercials. The cost of bass fishing, but catching a 10-pounder priceless.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, double digits, trophy bass fishing. We all want it, mm-hmm. but we've spent the last 3 decades of fishing, or even longer, just with a hope and a prayer out there, swinging baits in the winter, knowing, oh man, the winter time's the time to do it. But really, we're blind, and now we don't have to be blind. Catching double digits is something that any one of us can do, and it's in every public lake. These fish love to suspend, and when it gets tough in the wintertime, that's what they're doing. They're either out there tight to the bottom out there where you're not fishing, or they're chasing the bait. And this is the only technology to be able to really make it.
Do they suspend and do all this weird stuff on non-pressured lakes, like lakes that don't get hammered? They do it. That's just their natural. They're not out there in weird places because of pressure. They live there, and we just consider it weird because we're humans and they're fish.
Yeah, and here's the deal: muddy water, clear water, it doesn't matter. They're out there doing it. Now, with that being said, some of the exceptions are the grass lakes. It seems like they prefer to get inside that grass a lot more if there's grass available. But outside of that, they get on that bait in the wintertime. I think they do it for a couple reasons. I think they do it for food source, and I think they do it just because it's cover. I think that potentially there's some warmth there to all that school of bait that they can get, a degree or two of warmth and comfort. And hey, if they want a meal, they just...
Warmth and comfort from a school of shad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was reading comments there.
I know there's a ton of comments. That's all. I was letting you in so you could ask a couple of the comments.
Yeah. I think you answered the question. A lot of people are wanting to know, is there an economy level that I can get into getting this technology?
$1,500.
Yeah. So we don't. There is a 7-inch, Elite TI2 FS. You can get a 7-inch, and it will run the active target. We just recommend that at that point in time, you go ahead and upgrade to the 9-inch screen. Start out with a minimum 9-inch, and Matt can attest he started out with a 9-inch.
I still have a 9. So I have a 9-inch screen, and the 9-inch kicks ass and works amazing, and I have zero problem with it until I'm in the boat with someone with a 12 or a 16.
Yeah, I run it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I
run a 16. I am spoiled. The bass tank allows me to be spoiled. We spoil ourselves. But I also run my mapping on my same one unit. So, to be fair, but then I can expand out and have a bigger screen. The bigger screen means more details. I'm able to see from a long distance if there's a glare or anything from the sun. I can see the head from the tail and the fish. And sometimes it makes all the difference in the world. Even a big predator, you come behind its tail sometimes, and he's going to spook off. And so you need to know which direction he's going and be able to hit him on his head versus his tail. So The bigger the screen that's inside your budget that you can afford, the better.
You're independent. That was a question. Bass Tank independent or Lowrance? You guys are like an independent company. Like you started on it. You have a relationship with all of the electronics companies.
100%. We are just have an opportunity to say, hey, good job, Lowrance, and we sell their product. We also sell, the competitors.
Mm-hmm. Explain why companies want to work with the Bass Tank. So, I mean, you sell Humminbird, you sell Lowrance, and you sell Garmin.
Yeah.
What's the benefit? So you've been out with the Garmin guys. I mean, you run Garmin.
Right.
You've been out with the Lowrance guys. You have boats with the Lowrance. You talk with the Humminbird. What is the benefit for them to work with the Bass Tank? You've explained this a little bit to me as far as the product knowledge and stuff, but explain your relationships with the companies.
Okay, so when we say we're before, during, and after the sale, that's 100% what we are. We're not just a retail store where you can come in and grab something off the shelf. We are. You can do that if you want. If that's all you want to use us for. We ship nationwide, free shipping. So we'll do that. Just buy your stuff and sayonara. But that's not what we do.
That's your tagline.
Yeah.
There it is. We were looking for the tagline. Buy your stuff and sayonara.
Buy your stuff and sayonara. I mean, who loves that feeling? No one loves that feeling when you go to a retail store and you buy something and something's not. So we are fishermen first. We've been in the industry. We know how to use this. The reason the Bass Tank got started was because we were trying to push and become a better fisherman ourselves. And this technology advances has allowed us to become better fishermen. So when a customer comes to us, we can really diagnose their situation. We ask them a lot of qualifying questions up front, not just give me your money or what's your budget. A budget is a part of the question. What do you fish for? What kind of waters do you fish? Do you fish muddy or clear lakes and up north, south? All these things are factors to tune into the right electronics. So before the sale, we're going to, get you in the right direction. Because if you were to right now go on any one of the electronic companies' websites, they're not going to say one of their products is better than the other. They're going to say everything's the greatest, and it gets really confusing. You got 100 different units you can buy, and everything's the greatest. Well, that's not the truth. That not everything is the greatest. You don't have to spend the most to get the most out of what you're doing for your particular need. So we help with that. So there's the one thing. Then once you've got that purchase, we actually help our customers when they call in and they ask, hey, I'm in this situation. They could easily have spent $5,000 with us. Mm-hmm. Now they got their electronics out. Now they're trying to actually make this thing work. And they're in that uncomfortable stage that I talked about putting myself in all the time. Where before they'd go out there, they'd fish their brush pile. And now they're trying to use this technology, and they can see why they're not getting bit. There's no fish in the brush pile, so they're out. Now they're fishing something new that they never even fished. A new spot they've never fished. A lot of people don't even do that. They go out and they do their same spots all the time. Well, this technology allows you to expand out. Now they found fish. But guess one of the number one things we hear when the phone call, I can't see my jigs. I can't see my jigs. And we kind of laugh about it. Well, we're like, are you? Well, your transducer's pointed behind the boat. So so we help them tune in, and they get over that, that little bit of that stress and that learning curve. And we help get them in the right direction to the point where we've used it enough we can actually give them advice on the phone of how to actually get that fish to trigger to bite. So from that point, we've also got the install. Our install shop is, put it up against the best in the world at this electronics.
Who'd you have in yesterday?
A little guy, what is his name? Fishing the elites this year.
If you refer to him as a little guy, you're on your own. I'm about to walk off the set right now. I did not condone that comment.
Jason Christie.
That was 100%. That was John Soukup from the Bass Tank who made that comment.
Hey, he did tell me yesterday, he's like, that's why I hang out with big guys. So he called me the big guy. So
he took his new boat in and they did it all for him.
It's actually still getting worked on too. We get the privilege of installing his sea deck on his boat.
Really?
Due to the whole process of COVID delaying motors and all that different stuff that, all the pros right now, they're going through some mischief trying to put their boats together right now. So we're helping out with the Express guys and Jason obviously. So we're doing it majority of his units now. Yesterday, I think Thursday we're going to get a sea deck on, and then Friday we're going to help get that boat.
Let me cut you off. I got to say this because John will never say this. So you guys are not a 1-800 hotline for my crap doesn't work, help me fix it for free.
Ooh.
That just yes or no?
No, we're not.
Okay, so
we prefer your business.
Listen, they're a business. They're in the business. Part of the deal with the Bass Tank, they are a company. They sponsor the Bass Zone, and BTL is you buy stuff from the Bass Tank, and that
makes you a customer.
That then now you can call and say my crap doesn't work, help me, and they're on it. Like, I mean, you need like a 1-900 number to be like, if you aren't a customer and stuff, like, hey, you know, it'll cost you $30 for a diagnostic call, but we could do it. But I know that one of the things you struggle with is a lot of people have no association with you that want your expertise that's worth something for free. Fair point that I stated?
Yeah, you made me a little uncomfortable saying it.
But it needed to be said. Do you not agree, Jeffries?
Yeah, I agree.
100%. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, if you're in the market and you're asking legitimate questions and things, absolutely. Send them a message, talk to them. They'll get back with you. They'll work with you. But if it's, you know, if it's a, my stuff doesn't work, help me for free, dude, they're business people. Am I out of line by saying that, Mark?
No.
To answer Mark's question, and I know sometimes I go around about, the reason why these companies are working for us is I feel like we've become the pioneers of this forward shooting sonar. We're extending, we built our business around it. We are becoming the leading experts in the nation on this, not just because of we install more than anybody else does, or we sell more than anybody else does. These are all facts too, by the way. But we also use it on the water more than anybody else does. We compete in crappie at the highest level, and we compete in bass tournaments at the highest level with this technology. So early on, when we started doing this, a lot of the guides and a lot of the pros would call, and we'd go out in the water and do some on the water training. And you know, you usually, it doesn't matter who you get in the boat with. You'll if you're paying attention, if you want to get great at something, you'll learn from the least to the greatest of who you're in the water with. And so I think that this is why a lot of these guys, that's why we had the privilege of being able to get on the boat with Lowrance at the time we did, when, you know, there's only like maybe 12 transducers that were out at that time or something of that nature. We got to see them. We were one of the first ones to see it, is because you know, they want to see our stamp of approval. And I mean, honestly, we wouldn't put that on if it wasn't there. If you're a Lowrance guy and you're waiting, and you're that guy that's like always waiting for the new Jordans, so you never buy the new Jordans, you're waiting. You're gonna get passed if you don't take the opportunity now and jump on board with this technology and start learning it. You're gonna get spanked, and obviously that's what we don't want. We want everybody growing and getting excited and catching more big fish. And so, if you're a bass fisherman, you got your Lowrance, and you're waiting for someone that knows what they're talking about to say, hey, now's the time. You know, now's the time.
There you have it. All right, man, we're almost out of time. But, John, kind of sum up your review. You've talked about it a lot on the show, but just, you know, in 60 seconds, a couple of minutes, sum up your review of Active Target.
Man, my review is it does what they say it's going to do. You're going to see the fish. You're going to see the bait. They're, the negative side to it, if you will, is that you're going to have to make yourself uncomfortable to learn the technology, and that's it. You can't just put it on the boat and it's going to make the fish jump in the boat. You're going to go spend the time with it, but it works the way they say it. When they say it's game on, it is game on. There's a video there, a 9.5 pounder to prove it.
Yeah.
Real quick before we go, John, you are in and good for the MPFL in 2021.
That's what I'm doing.
Starting out, and you fall in March. Mm-hmm. So, excited about that?
I am very excited about that. I may unfortunately be the guy that's the least prepared because I'm focused on business, but I think that might set up well for me, actually.
Yeah, I've roomed with John before. There's only that one tournament. It's the only time I've ever seen you. I don't know what was going on in one of your other 18 businesses, but flipping bushes was not on the priority list in that tournament. But, man, if you put your mind to it, I know you'll kick some butt.
Well, hopefully Mark will have me on here. We can talk just, you know, tour fishing sometime.
Yeah. Well, we have a insight on the NPFL now. So with John, we're going to get hopefully some reports and follow his progress and kind of see what goes down with his progression through this season. So, yeah, I'd love to have you back on. And, hey, man, if you win one, even if you don't win one, you can come back on and we can talk about it.
I promise you I'll be somewhere in the top 125. See me on.
He's dead on. All right, man. Well, definitely appreciate you taking time out to come down from Tulsa and be in studio and fill in everybody on the new active target unit from Lowrance. So there you have it. And I know a lot of people out there, John, maybe one day this year, just one day, we can have a show that is dedicated to questions, because we did this one time last year and we could have went on for 4 hours. All right. But maybe one time this year when your schedule works out, we can have you on and it becomes a free-for-all in questions from the fans for an hour. So we'll look forward to that too.
That sounds great.
All right, man. Anything else, Matthew?
No, I'm good. Thanks for the hat. I'm super pumped about that. We'll be giving some of those.
Did you show those things off?
Yeah, the Bass Tank BTL hat. I gotta take my headphones off.
That's cool.
He did that in like 2 days.
I know.
Move my hands, just sewed all night long.
With the thimble. With the thimble on his finger, man. Getting after it. All right, that's going to wrap it up today. Once again, big thanks to John for coming in studio. Tomorrow, who do we have, Matthew?
Is it Greg Hackney?
That it is.
Do you think we'll get him?
Might be the only guy this week. I don't know. Hopefully he's not hunting or guiding or whatever.
Who the heck knows where he... I guarantee you if he is, though, he is not in an area that will have cell service.
No.
I don't think Hackney hunts in, public lands next to metropolitan areas. Everywhere he is like, high Yeti sightings, swamps, backwoods.
No. So I'm actually going to call him this afternoon and make sure we're good to go. Hopefully. Let's keep our fingers crossed. And then remember, next week, folks, Kevin Van Dam on Monday, Jason Christie on Tuesday. I know you're looking forward to that one.
What did you call him?
The little guy.
Golly, you are asking for it, John.
Wow.
See, he knows he's got him because he's got his boat in his shop, so he could literally say whatever because Jason wants his boat done. It's a rare
I'll pay for it.
occurrence right there.
All right, there you have it. Folks, make sure you check it out. Bass Tank. Is it thebasstank.com or basstank.com?
Thebasstank.com.
All right, there you have it. Thebasstank.com. Check it out. All kinds of great stuff out there. And somebody said, hey, I live in Oklahoma. They can come by and get with you and do whatever they need to have done. Right, John?
Oh, 100%. Please.
Yeah. All right, there you have it. Everybody be safe. Hackney, tomorrow. That's it. We're out of here.